Connor, I want to get your thoughts on this window. We kind of were alluding to it earlier, but talk to me about how you feel this window went. We had a 7-1 victory over Granada, or 7-0.
I think 7-1's right.
I thought it was 7-1. I thought we conceded one.
Yep.
Yeah, 7-1, and then 1-0 to El Salvador just a few minutes ago we finished. Give me your thoughts.
I don't think it was really anything new, honestly. Kind of the same from us. You came in, you expected us to come in and blow out Granada. That's what we did. And then you knew El Salvador was going to be a tough one because they did exactly what you expected them to do. They bunkered down 11 guys behind the ball. It was going to be really tough to break them down. And we were super sloppy in the first half. But at the end of the day, we got 6 points out of the window. And I don't know how you can complain too much when you're getting 6 points out of the window.
I agree with you. I think the results on paper are great. We talk about how you need to handle teams like Granada the way that we did. I mean, the two games that we've had since June, and it was June 22 and then this one here, 12-1 aggregate score. That's how that game is supposed to go. That's not supposed to be a sweat it out and see what happens. That's how that game is supposed to go. El Salvador away ended 1-1. And El Salvador is always a tough team to play. I mean, credit to Hugo Perez, who had a fantastic game plan. I was talking with my buddy about this. Um, Fantastic game plan, really, really well coached team with good players. You know, everybody talks about, oh, it's only El Salvador, right? Well, El Salvador is running with a couple of really good MLS players in Alex Roldan and Eric Zavaleta, who was fantastic this evening. Um, Against a bunch of guys who are not used to playing that level, right? I mean, you talk about there. I feel like there is it's almost like a weird performance drop off where like teams like Granada, and again, no disrespect to the Grenadians, Grenadines. I don't know. No disrespect to anybody from Granada, but they're a lower level team. They're supposed to get beat. They're supposed to get the snot beat out. But when you get the teams like El Salvador, like Jamaica, like Honduras away, that's where you see this weird little drop off where we suddenly just can't perform. And then you go back to the bigger teams, Wales, England, Iran in the World Cup, Bosnia in a friendly. That's when we start to play really well again. It's weird. It's almost like a bunch of bogey games. So um only thing I'm disappointed with was our ability in front of goal. I mean, 16 shots, a lot of them from really high quality areas. Only four of them on target. A bunch of them put over the bar from close. We did enough to get the job done. We did enough to get the job done, which is what good teams need to do. However, when you talk about it, and we can talk about it a little bit, when you talk about, oh, look at all these big European players that we have in our team that are supposed to be world beaters playing against little old, and I use this in quotes as if I was a Euro snob, right? Little old El Salvador. We should be killing, and yet we barely scrape by. So your thoughts?
It's it's a tough game. I mean, on paper, yes, you look at it and you say we should absolutely smoke El Salvador. I mean, our guys are at the club level playing at some of the best teams in the world. And when you think about it that way, you could picture taking a European big nation team and sticking them against El Salvador and saying, like, okay, well, if we stuck Germany or England or Spain against El Salvador, you would think on paper, yeah, they're going to blow them out. And maybe that's the case. Maybe they do. But I feel like when you get into the reality of the game, it's a lot tougher. It is it's a grind. El Salvador really seemed to buy in their style of play and play really well as a team rather than having the star power that like the US has. So they back their system, play it well, they have good chemistry. It's tough to break a team down and beat them by a lot when they have that going for them. I think it's It's a lot easier to do against a Granada where the level of play is a lot lower. But for someone like El Salvador, yes, it seems easy on paper. I think the reality is it's just not as easy as it looks on paper.
I love that point, right? And we mentioned it a little bit earlier, right? Credit to Hugo Perez, who had a fantastic game plan, but game plans only go as far as the players who put them into practice. And you are exactly right. This team bought into what they were doing. They were committed, and they nearly nicked the result out of us. And I think this is where you see the lack of permanent head coach and permanent style from the USMNT hurting them, because you're looking at a team now that, quite frankly, has not had a head coach since the World Cup. So they're bringing the same people in, maybe trying to learn a system and integrate some new players. Right, you look at Zendejas, you look at Robinson getting back into the fray, but the coach maybe is trying to switch up some things. I think it um, it might have been Ricardo Pepi mentioning like, oh, I've got a ton of freedom now in the attacking third when Greg was very, very structured. Well, when you get a ton of freedom, that's great, but you also need to learn when you're going to make a certain run, or when you're going to make a cut or a pass or a hold or a layoff. There's so many different things that come with freedom that you still need to have chemistry with. And um, I think that's what you saw in this game against El Salvador, where a team that was committed and had the ability to, because I think Granada was probably committed as well, but didn't have that ability that this El Salvadorian team had. That's where you see the negative come into play.
Yeah, I also think that we just didn't look as good today as we did against Granada. That's just flat out. And maybe I shouldn't say look, because obviously we're going to look better against a team that's just not as good, but we just looked sloppy. The whole first 45 minutes, it was, misplaced passes, poor first touches, and just nothing, like no creativity or chance creations for DK. I felt pretty bad for him because he just got nothing, like no today. And then as soon as he comes off, that's when Weston McKennie plays an absolute peach of a ball. So uh, I think El Salvador definitely deserves some credit for playing a good system against us and playing really structured and well. But we kind of did it to ourselves a little bit too. I just don't think we were at our best. But we say it all the time. Teams that are not at their best but still find ways to win are really good teams. So I can't say anything other than happy thing about the window.
Yeah, at the end of the day, right? I'm happy with the result. I'm happy with the fact that we moved on. We're going to get into the semifinals of the Nations League. We're going to compete for that title. We're going to compete to defend that title. I love it. It does leave me with some worry, of course. However, I don't worry. I'm not going to worry that much, right? If that's my biggest worry in life right now, life's pretty good. Um,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at CONCACAF standings right now for the Nations League, just show you that it's the quality of team may not necessarily be at the top level. It's not easy to get results against these teams. I think from what I saw standings, the only team that can match the amount of points that the US got from their group was Panama, who could potentially get 10 if they win their last game. So I mean, we're walking out of the group stage for the Nations League with the most amount of points. I can't say I'm disappointed with that.
yep. We've also qualified for the Gold Cup after this as well. So the top two teams in each League A group qualify for the Gold Cup. So El Salvador will be joining us, Mexico, and I believe it was Jamaica as well, with, as you mentioned, Panama. Nations League. Just double check here real quick before I start throwing.
Yeah, Panama, Costa Rica, Canada, and Honduras.
Yeah, there you go. So the same ones that you expect. Um, Mexico, Jamaica, Panama, Costa Rica, Canada, Honduras, and USA, El Salvador will all be going to the Gold Cup, which is exciting, right? So, um, would I have liked to see a Martinique in there? You're damn right I would have, but that's okay. Kind of cool. I like to see what happens with the leagues below us too. Like next year, Cuba will be moving up, Haiti will be moving up, Nicaragua will be moving up, and French Guiana look like they're going to be moving up too. So that'll be fun to see different teams in there. Um, just exciting different things, right?